Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammad wa alihi wa azwajihi wa zurriyyatihi ajma'in. We were here, interestingly, Klein supports the elimination of the truth relation. Let's go back a bit. We have something else to say on that. So paradoxical consequences of this kind arise from the attempt to sketch the logic of argumentation exclusively from the perspective of the flow of communication processes, and to avoid also analyzing consensus forming processes. He's talking about rationally motivated consensus, not just agreement. From the start, as the achievement of as the achievement of rationally motivated agreement. So I guess you can divide agreement into many types, but from this perspective, two types. So the telos of communication. This type of communication anyway is agreement or consensus. So when we enter into an argumentation, we try to resolve the issue and arrive at a consensus point, even if that consensus point is a provisional one. But agreement can be broadly divided into rationally motivated agreement and I guess non-rationally motivated, in the sense that, or irrationally, in the sense that, for example, if the reasons for agreement are pragmatic, then in a sense it is not a rationally motivated agreement, at least not exclusively. Or if they are strategic and pragmatic, we can mean here practical in the non-technical sense of the word. So the agreement Habermas is here interested in is rationally motivated agreement, because that will tell us something about communicative rationality. And obviously Klein is interested in that too, but Habermas's objection on him is that he thinks that he can understand communication from outside, from the perspective of an external observer, and also he rejects his idea that rationality can be understood on the model of causality, or on the model of the regularity modeled on natural laws, etc. So that's what we covered last time. Okay, so paradoxical consequences of this kind arise from the attempt to sketch the logic of argumentation exclusively from the perspective of the flow of communication processes, and to avoid also analyzing consensus forming processes from the start as the achievement of rationally motivated agreement. So from the temptation logical and from the start, so you have to sort of presuppose that people are motivated by, so even if this presupposition is counterintuitive or counterfactual, for Habermas you need to sort of presuppose that in order to understand the rationality of the process. The start as the achievement of, from the start, so from the beginning of your analysis, achievement of rationally motivated agreement, and as the discursive redemption of, and by discursive redemption of validity claims. Okay, that's part of what he means by rationality motivated agreement. So if you enter into communication to resolve some issue or to discuss some issue, and this communication is rationally motivated, and the purpose is to arrive at rationally motivated agreement, consensus. And this for Habermas mean that we should see communication as an attempt to discursive redemption of validity claims. So it is discursive in the sense that within a discourse, within a communication, with it, I think that's what you mean by discursive here. So discursive here is, I think, contrasted with in Habermas's discourse, in Habermas's writings, the individual, the model of rationality based on individual trying to intuit things, trying to see things based on the light of reason, using his or her own mind. So for Habermas, that light of reason doesn't exist. Reason exists within a discourse, within when you enter into actual or imaginary discourse. So rationality for Habermas is discursive in that sense. And it consists in participants raising implicit or explicit claims, and also agreeing to redeem those claims, in the sense that redemption of claims mean, and this is what he calls validity claims, that these are claims to a rational claim, and that claim can be, regarding the facts, it can be regarding values, it can be regarding morals, etc. It can be regarding political things, but these are rational claims in the sense that and redeeming these claims means that if somebody asks you to defend those claims, you defend them. So and if somebody object to those claims, you defend those. And if objections are powerful enough, you accept those objections, and now those becomes your reason. Then you maybe amend your claims, etc., or um, just replace them with new claims or new position, etc. So this is what redemption of the claims mean. Okay, redeeming validity claims mean. Okay, so from the start, as the achievement of rationally motivated agreement and as the discursive redemption of validity claims. As a consequence of this restriction to the level of the abstraction of rhetoric, the internal perspective or reconstructing validity consensus is neglected, connection is neglected. As a consequence of this restriction to the level of abstraction of rhetoric by Klein's because he sketched the logic of argumentation exclusively from the perspective of the flow of communication and to avoid analyzing consensus forming. So that's the abstraction from the actual communication. The internal perspective, that is perspective of participants. So as a researcher, you can reconstruct that perspective and reconstruct the validity connections, and that's how you understand the rationality and its constellation, I guess. So in Klein, there's lacking a concept of rationality that will make it possible to establish internal relations between their standards and ours, between what is valid for them and what is valid for us. Okay. So here people are within a discourse. They're raising claims, counterclaims, and they're achieving an agreement or consensus. You as an observer, either you can watch them from outside, or you can sort of afterwards enter into their internal space and reconstruct that dialogue from the perspective of our participants. So you become one of the participants among other participants. So then you can see their reasons. And if needed, you can pitch their reasons against your reason. So that's how you can establish internal connection between your reasons and their reason and avoid relativism. But if you are outside and you can't enter into a space of their reason, then you, according to Habermas, are sort of obliged to say that these are their reason and these are my reason, and there's no connection between them. So you end up, in a sense, at just a sort of relativism for, according to Habermas. So external perspective and avoiding the internal perspective actually leads to relativism, according to Habermas. And that's the logic, that's his logic as far as I understand. Okay, so basically we just went over what we covered last time. So probably the last paragraph we didn't look at it that closely, so that was good. So I think we should be able to finish this in one more session, because only one paragraph is left, and then he start discussing Toolman, which we will do separately at some point. Okay, done.